Good evening, folks. Welcome to this program. I hope my audio is doing great out there. Just give me a thumbs up. We are trying to. Good evening, welcome. I'm Apostle Zienso from the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv. I want to welcome our viewers and listeners. River says support Joel to Young, John Davis. I'm getting used to this modern electronic device here provided by the Liberal Progressive. Folks, somebody just do me a favor. If my audio is good out there for you, just give me a thumbs up or just put there something indicator that I will know it's okay. I just want to make sure everything is okay. Riverside Pro, if my audio is perfect out there, just give me a thumbs up or just right there, clear, or make an adjustment, Davis as well. For those of you listening, we want to welcome our viewers and listeners across the globe. I'm Afonso Zienso of the Liberia Public Radio. I'm still waiting for that indication just in case the audio is perfect. Just let me know. Please write something. Let me know. That we are good, Mr. Ati. Okay, good. All right, good. All right, I'm just getting a word from the our own station manager. He's always there, making sure that the right thing is done. I want to welcome our viewers and listeners across the globe. Thank you so much for joining us. Your commitment to this network is just overwhelming. Without you, we cannot get to what we are doing. So we want to welcome you. This is Lpr-Tv Live with the panelists going to be dissecting their views, their opinions, and on the news happening in Liberia, in the political dynamic state of Liberia, if you will. Too much is unfolding at the same time. The fight for the higher office of the land is on the rise. I am a council there and so of the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv. We want to welcome you at this event to this all important program. Yes, stay with us. Believe me, we're going to have a great time. We're going to have a good conversation, hopefully. Not necessarily that you wish it goes in the direction, but for the good of the country, and making it fair, balanced, objective, and having a great conversation for the good of the country. I think that is key, and that's what we should be focusing. That's what we should be focusing on as well. So, folks, just bear with me as I try to do a little bit of house cleaning here for us to get this program on the way. I believe my contributors, analysts, political pundits, they are all standing by, and we will get this ball rolling right away. Stay tuned here this evening, and we're going to have a great conversation. I am Afonso Zienso of the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv. Let's get a ball rolling here. Welcome to this program. I'm Afonso Zienso of the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv. We want to welcome you this evening. The fight for the Oval Office in Liberia is on the rise. This is LPR Live. Our team of analysts, contributors, and political pundits standing by across country to join us. The fight is on. The former Vice President of the Republic of Liberia came out of the shed today, calling the president is on autopilot. Do you know exactly what the Vice President is talking about? Someone you are on an autopilot? Just a boy can't say he can talk, but he's talking now. And we believe it's going to get more interesting. Day goes by. His me Allah Benenat, for the first time I heard him mentioning Wilfred Ure. That was the introduction there by Amos Stewart, the Secretary General of the Opposition United Party, which seems to be one of the main challenges, as well as the Alternative National Congress, LPP Tiawangonglo, and the list goes on. The president, meanwhile, is away, and all this unfolding. Mbato, fighting for his political career, Samuel Tuajuns, the Planning and Economic Affairs Minister, Finance and Economic, two put together concurrently. He was tight-lipped today in a visit at Lagos. Is the president monitoring demonstration to want to demonstrate against Liberia's ally, the superpower, to call for the withdrawal of the ambassador to credited near the capital of Liberia, Monrovia? Where is that counsel is coming from? Are they serious? Is it in consonance with the government of Liberia or just few citizens put together to express their democratic will? Do they know what they are driving themselves to, the implications of that? Do they know the profile of Ambassador McCarthy? And not necessarily. I said yesterday, it's almost like the recall. Remember what Samuel Doe said, let's pay US debt, and people were killing Paula. I believe the liberals, I'm not sure he was in Liberia at that time, I know they were all paying. Quite as interesting. Okay, we're going to be having all of that here. Team of contributor analysts standing by right here, cross country in the USA. They are about to decide, insight, and bring in their political talking point. Me and only me is the guy that is clear on this network. The liberal, you know the liberal position. That's the ambassador. And I'm hoping to see what he's going to be saying here this evening. As usual, it's so ridiculous. By the way, he bought me at a very sophisticated high-tech mixer. I'm still finding it difficult to use, but I'm getting there gradually. So I will try to be a little bit nice, but that does not guarantee the fact that when he sounds ridiculous, he will not be called out here. I have it. That one he will call state trooper in row earlier to come take it. I don't know how they're going to take it anyway. But I really appreciate that. And it's all in one. It's sort of multitask. I mean, you can see the dashboard and everything. You do recording at the same time you're on air broadcasting. Roadcast Pro. Yeah, Pro. So this is awesome. It's beautiful. Amen. Zion Boazizi. Good evening and welcome. Richard Banning, our man David Goyle. These are hard committed, hardcore follower viewers of the Liberia Public Radio. Let's get a ball rolling. Let me bring in from the far right, Amos George, senior political analyst of the Liberia Public Radio, will share the political views of the opposition's Alternative National Congress. Fair to say, we reached out to the CDC executives in the USA here, in Liberia, spoke with the chairperson, Madam Constant Duopo, make a referral. I did call the individual, agreed to also make his presence felt, but apparently at his own timing. We just want to make that crystal clear. We hope to get someone from the Unity Party, unless somebody can tell me who to really direct, who they can direct me to, because I have called people that I thought closer to the Unity Party, but they kept pushing her around. We don't have no time to waste. I don't have to beg you to come here because you need to beg for it. You want your message to go. I have nothing to lose, but we want to make it fair to bring everybody. Let me bring in Amos Joy. She's standing by, and Jonathan Dulaker is here for ANC as well. And hopefully the Tiawan Gonglu guy, Dr. George Toto and Sisi will join us here. Hopefully they'll be progressive. But let me bring in Amos George here this evening and see what we can do. Amos George, are you on the airfloor or where?
No, that's not my place. I'll remember the ground floor.
You want to go on the airfloor?
No.
Okay. Good evening and welcome.
How you doing, Mr. So?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, let's insight immediately into this whole thing here. Hold on. Let me see here. Something crazy going on here. I try to do two things at the same time here. So hold on 1 second here. All right, let me bring this here. Okay. Good evening, Mr. George. Welcome.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
All right, great. Okay, let's get a pick here. The microphone seems to be open here this evening. There are some things that you can capture. I don't see. There are a lot of things ongoing in the country here. So let's do it this way. One of the things that caught my attention today is your guy. Oh, not your guy. I'm sorry. That's a liberal guy. Ambassador Joseph Boyka. Welcome, our man Willa Hinent, one of our strong primetime viewer. good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us here. So let me hear from you. What you pick up, it's crazy out there. Too much going on at the same time. Sometimes it just busts your head and you find it very difficult where to grab and make sense of, but we have to do what we can do. Uh, where I took you today, it's on the social media or even news making headlines in the country.
It was social media. And
What are you, especially? I don't like to just grab news because anybody can post anything on the
yeah.
Facebook
So,
and claim to be Mr. A, Mr. B. I don't see that as uh, news. I like to get it from print media, credible news outlets,
Oh, yeah.
more or less. Yeah. But what are you hearing? What are you hearing from inside Liberia? Let me bring in our man, Jonathan Duroquette of the Alternative National Congress. This guy here, I see him to be some sort of a special counsel to Alexander Cummings if he's elected president of the Republic of Liberia. Let me bring in Jonathan. Uh, Jonathan, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. So, and good evening to Mr. Josh.
Oh,
I'm
that,
trying to get
that your
power with
patron,
technology.
right? Okay, so yeah, Pa George, go ahead. I just want to make sure you bring in Jonathan.
The denouncement of the demonstration, the government came out to debunk that and categorically denounced that they are in no way, no form planning to demonstrate against the ambassador for his recall. And going by the latest, there's a time in Kilma 1020, the demonstrator took the equipment and said that they would not go on the field until they have been paid. Then the last one, the other one is Ambassador Joseph Boakai coming after George Weah, and Mr. Alex Williams is pleading for his life.
Ooh, that's a big one. Because he been speaking out a lot. So I don't think that to warrant the young man's life for someone to uh, kind of threaten his life or do anything that could endanger his life. Let me go to Jonathan. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, let's hear from you since we have an open mic here and we're going to be talking on a variety of issues. Let's hear from you. What is concerning to you as oppositions, and not just on the oppositions, as a Liberian who wants to see his country to be doing well, democratically, having good political and civil conversation? What are your concerns considering all that is being played out in our political sphere?
So my concern is firstly that the government up to current has not realized through its machinery, through its agency or agents of government to register to the Liberian people the failure of the censor. This morning, yesterday, I was on the back of the Deputy Minister, Baka Fufana, on OKFM. Yeah, that was yesterday. Today, he was calling in Ganta again, giving misinformation, and I was on the back again on radio in Ganta. Uh, Pa George said it quite well. Grand Cape County again, all of the tablets that were meant for the enumerators to carry on the program have been confiscated by the enumerators who have been trained, not paid. And so I also mentioned that on OKFM this morning with one of the government stooges, was sitting on the platform boasting of the censor, and I'll just reveal to him. But more than that, the issue of power theft. We have lost 40 million US dollars just this year to power theft. And so all of our pieces of advice still coming under scrutiny. I would like to say thanks and bravo to Madam Mary Broad, who is on a vigorous campaign process, trying to get those who are illegally connected off the line, those who are illegally removed off the line, to also be legally connected, because there are people who paid and then all of a sudden they kind of disconnect them. They can't get power. They are struggling. Those people, they are trying to give them meters. It is quite important. That's one of the things that is important for me, because we have said it time of numbers that if you privatize these agencies, these corporations, and then it is left with the corporation to look after those, those private sector to look after those corporations based on the terms and agreement, there will be more coming to our revenue if only the government arm of LEC will be the regulatory arm.
Okay, so the place seems to be what a huge dinner here this evening makes with palm butter, everything ought involved. All right, so let's get a pick. Let's start from Joyce. What made those issue of that of a concern that much to you?
Well, let me start with the latest. This young man, Mr. Alex Williams, went on a network 2 days and made a whole lot of allegations. I will not say even because allegations, because there were people facts to support those things. And he said it point blank that the censor would not be successful until that bureau is what we call reorganized or overhaul structure with competent people to go ahead. And the government is like challenging what he said. And today, to see people in Kidmore, numerators, who are going forcefully and taking the tablet, and they were not even hiding. They said, we took it until they can pay us. Now, if that is the case, how can you tell the people that the censor will be successful when you have people that you are allegedly trained, material that when you store, they have taking those equipment and seeing that you must pay them before they can go on the field? Now, people are saying the censor will not end one day, yes. But according to Mr. Williams, the government got 11 days to do this censor. So that's why the proclamation that was issued by the president, the target, he said, anybody, that first day, the target is to numerate about 50% of the population. So the rest will be like callback, So that did not happen on that Friday. And those were somebody who were laying or saying it did not happen. We didn't have the kicker on the Friday. There's no way that you'll be able to have a perfect censor. And these are the kind of glitches now we're seeing what this young man spoke about.
So, so basically, kind of like forecast the danger of it, because definitely are going to fall below the belt. That his area, he's a lot of trainees, and so he was speaking from Vike's experience, making those sort of predictions, and apparently nobody paid attention to that.
Yes, Vike's experience, and he gave an instance. He said, look at Ivory Coast. Because when they did the censor, it did not meet the international standard. So that censor, that population was not taken into account. So, all the money and effort they made went in vain. So, and now from that perspective, he was speaking as an expert on this matter. But GOL wants to go ahead to say, hey, the censor, they want to do it, and these are the hookups now. And there comes the confidence. How now the international community will take this censor to say, yes, this met international standard, when in fact he said, there was a equipment that should have installed that in real time, as people are counting people, it will be coming straight into the office and they will be seeing it live. And he said those things were not, those equipment were not installed, but were not installed. And then he went on, the data coordinator, as legit, the director general went and jailed him and locked him up the other day. And because of that, the guy had refused to go to work. And they brought in, he said they brought in young people there. But he said, how can you people do this when they were not the one that even installed this in the code, everything. This man that the lockup, he was the one. He told this guy going to remain there, and if you bring anybody, he will drill them and walk them through the system. But he said the guy is not going back to work. So you see the dilemma now we are in. But yeah, boss, some assistant minister will go on the radio and tell people the censor is going according to plan. But from Friday to today, it's how many days? Except the legislature now maybe will go to extend the day.
And basically, what he was trying to do to call on GOL and why he was proposing, based on previous meetings, there was some sort of false or wrong impression given to GOL or the president, who is the chief executive of the country. And everybody was like, don't worry, everything is okay. And I think he was advancing a proposal for extension in order to allow these processes and the work to really kick off. And that did not happen. Here we are in the midst of all of this yet. Who created these Pandora bags to be giving you this headache? Let me bring in Jonathan here. Jonathan, is it too late? How can we get out of this whole ditch?
Thank you, Mr. So, and very fortunate for all of us on the platform. Some of us contributed our quota to our country, Liberia, 2008, when we diligently served and helped with the censor process in Nimba County specifically. I chose my county because I wanted to make sure that we can talk to our people, we can canvass, we can have it on the radio, we can make sure the publicity works. And I would like to say in this public manner that Dr. Liberty, who was then the head of Legis, demonstrated real leadership. And I mean, we can say all we want to say about Madam Salif. Those are some of the good attributes of good governance, in spite of the challenges and some of the failures that the government had at the time. And that's how I can balance it. But that's a serious purpose of a censor. The purpose of a censor is to know the household counting, to know the shifting, the dimensional shifting of the population, who move from where to where, because it brings about the redistributing of districts. It tells you about the accounting of structures. It gave you the accounting of structures, whether be it dwelling places, whether they are shacks, they are zinc house, they are modern structure with toilet facility in it, or they are toilet facility outside of those structures. It tells you about hospitals, about schools, how close they are. Now they have introduced new formula. And the new formula they are added to it, or one of the indicators, is that they're now talking about disadvantaged people. Because as we know, many of our structures in Liberia do not accommodate disadvantaged people, people who are physically challenged. So now this new counting process has included it. And then you talk about infant mortality, death rate, birth rates. And Mr. Bajor stressed a very unique point. That point is about the dashboard. The young man said that there was a dashboard created so that it produced in real time the enumerator results. So that means I think we used to do way back before. We carried a hell of a booklet in our hand and write all the things they in it. This time they got the Apple, the tablet. As you punch it in it, right there it appear on the dashboard. This young guy who is very brilliant intelligence said, on the dashboard you could not see a single enumeration. And so it was quite disappointing that the deputy minister, in person of Bwaka Fofana of the Information Ministry, was on OKFM. I corrected him there. He drags and things that people are not listening. Go to Voice of Gompa in Ganta to make the same mess information, and I have to correct him this morning. This is bad. Onto the power theft situation, which is very cardinal. We have said time without memorial that if the government have assumed to own telecommunication in Liberia, regulated at the same time distributed, we would have had the same problem we're having with power theft. That is why it was important for this government to listen to us. And we continue to say, or people continue to say in the public that the opposition have not been talking, we've been sounding this thing here. Government regulate the issue of power and LEC. Just do the regulation, the laws, like LTA will do. Let the private sector do the distribution and the rest of it. They will have to hire people to monitor the land, to evaluate all of the process, recruit people, employ people, and all these things then. And government will be receiving her royalty through it, and it will be maintained, it will be distributed, because private sector is always in the business of making profit. These are the only things that we can say. We as opposition, we don't collect taxes, we don't levy taxes, we don't expend taxes. Only idea we provide. If you neglect it, it's up to you. This is how Mr. Cummings are intended to change this country. And every time we have the opportunity, we'll say it so that government can learn. Because the more they do it, it's better for all of us.
Yeah. All right. I think your microphone is fading. Your voice microphone is fading. So, Mr. George, one of the big news today is the former vice president. He was very forceful. He uses some really strong words today in his addressing the nation, I believe, as to put it. I think everybody tried to show a leadership here. We're going to go to it. But before that, seeing all that is unfolding today, does that give us the reason now and just not only begin to where, though the presidency is the chief executive, he or she who going to be elected going to make all of these appointments, right?
Yeah.
But is it time now that the media be more strategic to have a conversations of these autonomous agencies, ministries of government, people who potentially will be occupying those positions? Is it time for us to take it to revisit to have a conversation about that and begin to ponder it around what kind of person going to be there, what specifically are they bringing to the table, seeing what is happening, the LEC. So Mary Bro, is she a resurrector in the country? When passport era having problem, Mary Bro go there. When City Hall sanitation is not having anything, Mary Bro. Mary Bro, the age is catching with her as well. The strength of Maribor of 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, as you get much older, that it decreases as well. So this is it's not good.
It's not good, but I said this is where we find ourselves. Every job, from the office boy to the minister, it all has a description, the function. Yeah, and you bring somebody there with a expectation that they will manage this area. Some of them go through Senate confirmation hearing, Senate confirmed it, but they are not living to the expectation when they come to the job. So then, the chief executive, who has the power, who nominated the man, appointed this man, he the only person can dismiss this man. And if this man is close to him, then that person enjoy the power of the president. This is what we're doing here today. Let me go back to the latest. The guy was I think the two deputies, what the guy was in, they don't have any degree in this area. Why would you put them there? Okay, if you put them for any reason and they are not performing, and all the noise coming from them, why you can't get rid of them? Why? It said because it's your friend or football, soccer, or what kind of friend you got, that you will keep them there and the country suffer. This is fine. But you know that Mary thing is so funny. Is that are we seeing 5.7 million or 4.4 million people, only one woman, one person can stand up to do something right? If that can, then something is fundamentally wrong with us. Mary went to GSA. She came to foreign ministry. Then City Hall. We have time again. She went back to GSA. Now they had the last time, what's it, COVID, they had to bring her. What do you mean? It said nobody there that have the willpower to say, no, this is wrong, and I would not compromise it. If that is it, there's something fundamentally wrong with it. And she got into trouble during this exercise, because she made a comment about Fula people, that Fula people were not citizens. They were there to make the profit and take care of the, and the Fula community came after her and they demanded this. But let me say this. I would say the same thing what Mary Bro said. And I would be unapologetic. Because if you are a good citizen, you will not engage in any criminal activity that will harm the country. Mary Bro should have stayed on ground, and I would say it. What are you full out? You like one male. If you are in Liberia to do business and you're duping the country, you are not a patriotic citizen. So if I say you will take your private home, she was right. Because Mr. So, you come to America. We are in this country. You drink everything in this country. Then you turn around to steal from the state or to steal from the federal government. So are you a real patriotic citizen? You are depriving other people of resources to develop their community. And you're the one benefiting from it. And you turn around to rob the people. So if you're a patriotic citizen, you won't say it. So America is right. I never seen no full tribe in Liberia. They are not part of the 16th tribe. And if you come there, we accept you, then you should abide by our laws. But you cannot go to take advantage of the law. And when someone says because you are not citizen, and you say, oh, because I got billion, I got billion. But yes, you got it. What's the exploitation you're doing? You are theft.
Okay, let's give it's politics. Let's give them some free publicity here. Ambassador Boyka today, as usual, I don't know what he adopting the style of Alexander Benedict Cummings. He lost the microphone, so he talked to the microphone today. Let's see what he was saying and some of the words that he deployed in his press statement today. I am Alfonso Zienso. Stay tuned. Let's listen and see. Let's see. Hold on. Just bear with me a bit here. Okay. Let me see. Hold on one second. Just bear with me, folks. I hope I get the right thing somewhere. Yeah, the audio here too is bad. So let's see here.
So that serious efforts can be made to better Liberia and to protect the interests of our future generation. This will be done through the decisive and popular vote of the Liberian people in 2023. That is why the electoral process will have to be free, fair, and credible. Hence, we insist on the timely registration of voters with a biometric system to avoid the duplication of votes and the manipulation of election results. We therefore challenge the NEC to provide timely and indeed true education needed and awareness to the population to ensure a credible outcome. Fellow citizens, elections are very contentious issues, the conduct of which must be done with a high degree of transparency and fairness. Our history shows that the mishandling of elections has significantly contributed to the conflict in this country. As we endeavor to turn over the ugly chapter of our country that have been punctuated by election-related conflict, we must strive to put in the best of ourselves so that we never return to the dark theater of shame and disgrace. Let me also remind you, I want all of you to be reminded that as of the time of whatever we do as a nation, the people, it should be epitomized by acts that will protect, promote peace, stability, and economic advancement to our country. So I want to say, fellow citizens, when we vote in 2023, I want for you to join me together that we do so as we think Liberia, we love Liberia, and demonstrate together that we can build a great Liberia. Thank you for your cooperation.
Okay. I know I kind of skipped one further ahead, but where he was says good evening and welcome. By the way, thank you for being here, and good to have you here as well. Okay, but I'm quite sure most of you and even our viewers did follow everybody's news freak in their own selves. The vice president um, took the stage today in what appears the country. He used a word. The country is like kind of autopilot. That's the word he's used. The president is not concerned. The hardship on the people. 7 weeks, he's left the country without any tangible reason that he tells. He told the Liberian people for which he suppose he has left the country. But we all know when something is at a power, like he's the president or he is not thinking of. They don't think and they make a decision. So those are very strong words coming from out of the former vice president here, so trying to show strength and leadership here. Let's have a conversation here a little bit. Sister, good evening, welcome. Pa George.
Yeah.
Yes, you listened to the vice president today.
Yeah.
Was it timely in his conference?
It was okay, even though I had some problem with the arrangement today with the people. But I don't think. But these are things when you're doing, you have to bring the right people to set the equipment and everything on time because there were a whole lot of noise, there were all kind of things in the background, his voice. I mean, so. But what he said, well, I don't know whether the country is on autopilot, but what he said, he said almost everything I agree with him because the president left the country. We don't know how many persons delegates traveling with the president. Because we know those days, when the president is leaving, they will tell us the number of people that the president that traveling with the president. Whether minister, deputy minister, assistant minister, they will give you the number, 10-man delegation, minister this and that. I'm not talking the security detail. No, that is not part of our problem to know. But the government officials that are trying with him that are going to be attending the other programs, they will make that announcement. They will give the number of person, name, and everything. And they will take someone from the state media to cover that event. Wherever the president goes, who he's meeting with, there will be a relay of broadcast. Sometimes if it is not, or what you call, it may be relay of the program, do a recording from there, then relay the program back to Liberia to know what the president is doing at the time. But today, it's nothing like that. So, Honorable Boga is right. You don't know where the president is going. We do not know what he's doing. Even the other day, the president, I think OKFNO, he could not tell. The guy asked him how many persons the president on a delegate. He could not tell people. He said 4 persons. Then he said one at one point is between 4 to 9 persons. Or some people left the gun back. Some people be adding at this point. Hey, is that how we're going to run the country? The president said he's traveling Morocco, Egypt, France, Qatar, the United States. Everybody on that delegation name should be listed already. If people will join you, you have to make sure that at this point, this group will be joining the president at this time. But there's nothing going on. Then, here's the country. Legit. All the glitches. The Minister of Finance, and we don't know. And like we don't know what is happening in the country. He spoke about himself. We all know. I mean, people. We know our people are just property. That one is no need.
Let's look at the style and before I bring in Sister here.
So, yeah, but and this is why sometimes it gets to me. Because I know in our other country, people will demand in the street, demonstrate that the person dismissed or got from lecture. Or demand that the government tell us, because it's our tax dollars that the president is traveling on. I always say this. If the president is traveling on a private visit, I don't have anything to do with it. But when you're using the Liberian people money, they have to be informed of every activity of that leader. It's not a private money. It's taxpayer money. $60,000 a month to give a president And you're not telling the people that's just a padan, a personal padan. It's not expensive. $60,000 to give to a president a month. And he's not telling the Liberian people where he's going and what he's doing. 2.5 million, I don't know, they got somewhere and they're making that kind of 2.5 million for a country. Is that money?
Okay.
Money for me, but not for a country like Nigeria.
I know. We're talking about sovereign nation with more than what 15 political. Hey, Sese, good evening, welcome.
Yeah, how you doing, Mr. So?
Good.
I am really not well. You can tell I'm under the weather, but I had to come on.
I like the shine.
I had to come on to push back against Mr. George. But George, with all due respect to you, I respect you, but I am ashamed of you tonight. That you will sit on this platform and back hate and spew hate against the Fula. Hold on, sir. Okay. Against the Fula community. That is despicable. I will hope that your fellow ANC brother, that you have been pushing us about the issue of Talon Kuampa, that he would distance himself from you. That Mary Bro made a statement and targeted the Fulanese was despicable. You can speak and say people should not steal power, but to target a particular group of people is below the pale, it's despicable, it's un-Liberian. And anybody who back that, I am ashamed of you tonight. But George, let me be very frank with you. And let me teach you something about our Constitution today. There is nowhere in our Constitution that said in order to be a Liberian, you have to belong to one of the 16 tribes. It's nowhere in there. The Fulanese, if they were born in Liberia to Negro parentage, if half of their parents are Negro, they are Liberians.
Not that.
So it was said
Mr. George,
to say that there is nowhere in our country where they are citizens, to say that they don't belong to tribes and they are citizens, it is an ignorance of the Constitution and it's an ignorance of our history. Because there are people who come to Liberia who come from Guinea, that might be Fulanese, that might be Mandingo, but because their parents settled in Liberia and were born in Liberia, they are by nature, if they are from Negro descent, they are Liberian citizens. We can talk about what Mary Broad talked about without being xenophobic. And I think to come out and back that, Mr. George, by George sends a wrong message. This is how tribalism starts. This is how xenophobia starts. This is how it started in South Africa when people were being macheted and cut down and burned in the street of South Africa. These are the kind of languages that we need to take out of our political space. We can disagree, but to be xenophobic and to ridicule a group of people, to target a group of people is wrong and it's despicable. It's below the pale.
Okay. That's the good thing about this network. I'm coming. Hold on 1 second. That's the good thing about this network here. All of the folks that are here, very professional people. We can have our dialogue, we can have our conversations, agreed and disagree, but we speak our mind, and that's what makes our Liberia Public Radio. That's one of the reasons we transitioned to this, and because we want to create a conversation where no one will be left behind. Jonathan, you were also being indicted by Cummings. By Joy, hold on 1 second. You were indicted by Sese also that you formed a coalition or solidarity with your ANC patron, if I will use that French word, and for which he woke up from his sick bed to come. And we know this sort of hate wars or I can't live a certain group stereotype and all of that. We know what it means. We know the long-term implication. We saw that happening right before our very eyes here, and we know how dangerous the situation. Before Amos George coming, and the purpose of it is to stabilize the conversation here. Was that a little slip away from you when Mr. George made that statement, including myself, for us to push back heavily?
I sincerely consent to it that it was a slip. I think that if Pa George will come back and have the second chance, I think he will not want to agree with Madame Mary Broad to burn the entire Fula community in a particular category. I think she stepped overboard. It was not hefty. It was not what this, decent conversation called for Mary Brown to make such a statement. To be quite honest with you, we are in America and we are enjoying some of the pleasantry of life, and we are resisting even per the history of racism, and every day is spoken about it. So let us challenge those who are doing bad things based on their action and their misgivings. I think we should hold each individual character individual by that standard. So I don't think we should venture into that. So I was carried away by the power theft, the prioritization, the regulation and distribution aspect. So I didn't really catch up on it. So, but I think, George, if you come back to have a say on this matter, I think Madam Mary Brown really went overboard. All Fulani people cannot just be criminal, or not because 100 Fulani men have been criminals, so it means that Fulani people are criminals. Some of them, they are Liberians. We went to school together. We graduated from school together. We are friends. They know no other area except Liberia. And so I would not want to go that route.
I would not want to go that route, and I didn't ask such angle. I didn't push back because perhaps everything was kind of the blowing out here. But let's try to call for the replay. You remember the incident of Charles Juru? He wanted to overthrow, and then he not carry a tape. He said, "I'm gonna bring him tape so you will play it." I said, "How the hell you go somewhere you get cassette, but you not get tape? So how you think people are gonna dance to the song?" Let me bring you in here, Amos George. This is a consequential and sort of a critical conversation here because we also quick to say people are racist. Even when we went wrong, they will say, "Oh, because I'm a black, this is why the white man does it," and blah 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 blah, and all of that. If we were to give you the opportunity to restructure your words, would that be a different way to do it?
That would be a different way. But let me tell Mr. Sese, the Liberian Constitution is not shame. It is what is written until we can decide to change it. And if we cannot change it, there's law in the book. Even it says that if you are Negro descent, you can become citizen of Liberia. If one of your parents is a Liberian, born at the age of 18, you can naturalize. That is the law. So if
are you putting fans around?
He mentioned the Constitution of Liberia.
Mr. Josh, you didn't listen to me. I told you that the Constitution allows for, if you have one parent that is of Negro descent, to be a citizen. That is exactly what I said. I said I'm ashamed of you. I didn't say I am ashamed of the Constitution. I said of you for that statement. I did not say of the Constitution.
Right.
Okay, let Mr. George make his argument. Yeah.
You have to reach an age. Despite one of your parents is Liberian or Negro descent, you have the Constitution require an age. So it doesn't mean that when you are born the other man, you are a citizen. No, there is a criteria set for that. So not every Fulani person born in Liberia, when you are not meet that criteria, you are not yet a citizen.
Okay, so let's address this whole.
So the issue here of me saying I support that statement, I was wrong now, but as an individual, I think they should be addressed at that particular area. If an individual do it, you don't generalize it. So I think that was a slip of tongue on my part, and I take full responsibility about it. But at the same time, I said, if people come into Liberia, what we can do in those countries, they should not come and do it in our country. There are laws about by you are best person, perfect. But you can't be contributing to society at the same time exploiting the society, which is wrong. And that's my stand.
Okay. I don't care how Pajos try to wrap this thing. He is still wrong.
Well, Pajos,
listen.
No, he consented already that there was a
we all listen to rhetorics. Pajos came out to try to talk about the issue of citizenship. Pajos, when you make the statement, you blanketly say Fulanis are not, they don't belong to a tribe in Liberia, ergo they are not citizens.
Because they have
listen to me, sir, listen to me. You said Fulanis do not belong to a tribe in Liberia, therefore they are not citizens. My pushback to you is that there is nothing in our constitution that says you have to belong to one of the tribes in Liberia to be a citizen. Therefore, if you were born of Negro descent, you can become a citizen if you so choose. That is the fact.
You can.
Besides that, I was educate you because you made a blanket statement that you have to, that the Fulanis are not one of the tribes of Liberia, therefore they are not citizens. And I'm trying to educate you that there is nothing in the Constitution that says you have to belong to one of the tribes in Liberia to be a citizen. Mr. George, this was despicable. plain and simple. And I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for the way. Listen, Mr. George. Mr. George. Mr. George.
Hello. Sister, hold on 1 second.
Mr. George.
Hold on 1 second, guys.
Some of us lived in Liberia during the 15 years Civil War. We understood how these kind of languages led to deaths of people. This is despicable at all levels.
Hold on 1 second, Mr. George. Mr. George.
If we have to listen to Mr. So, who is the
moderator? Okay, let's do this. We don't want to be like the other side of the world. They can do whatever we can do. This is Liberia Public Radio. You can smash me down here as a chief anchor, and if I'm wrong, and I should have like kind of like pushback as I usually, but this one we were all blown off the window because of too much.
I came back and said,
Mr. George, hold on 1 second, Mr. George. So when we having these conversations where there's a differences or something, because all of these, what we are doing is to help the electors, the ordinary citizen, to be able to make some informed decision of what's happening, because the innuendos out there is just over the top. People wrong with things, and all of these things are affecting our society. So we will always have the civility on this network, where when one person is speaking, we don't want to be like the other people, and they are okay. That's their culture. Our culture here at LPR is different. Sissy is making a point with Sissy. Amos George is speaking, Sissy with Jonathan, to the liberal, even Dr. Toto. All of us will listen keenly and be able to make that counter point. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. George. And then we will move ahead because we're on the Ambassador Boycott speech.
After all your comment, I came back and said, by generalization of that statement, I was wrong. But Mr. Since I stayed insisting that it was despicable, I said, look, okay. When I come back and you say no, what do you expect from me? When I said that, okay, I misspoke by generalization. And you say you don't want to take it? What do I do?
Let's see that.
It is my right. And just as it is my right to express my feeling. So if it doesn't
let's see that up. I think is good. We can, and we ourselves must be chastised for things that we say, because the audience, the viewers there, they look up to us. So we are not above the law. And I like how what is the Attorney General, when he said no one, not even the president, is above the law. Me sitting behind the microphone here talking and running mouth like a little chihuahua, it doesn't mean I should say A and I should go. Let's welcome Dr. George Toto, is a senior analyst based in Pittsburgh. Liberia Public Radio is joining this conversation. Dr. Toto, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, of course. I don't know about phone, but I think your voice kind of breaking up.
Yeah, I think that your phone. It looked like you came in defense with your Tiawan Gonglo man.
No, I can't again.
Yeah, there's something woke up. I think that it's coming from your end, because guys, you're hearing me correct, right?
Let me try to get a come back here and see.
Yeah, go get a cold drink and come back, because I know that you're coming after Amos George as well.
Oh my.
Okay, guys. Jonathan, I don't know what else. I think Kwame has already spoken. Ambassador Boycott today addressed the nation. Let's look at his style. Let's look at some of these words that he was. What did he capture from that speech? What he sends out from? Let's take it from the opposition end, and we're going to take it from the opposition opponent end, because obviously you want your guy to win. But let's look at Dr. Boycott's speech today. The country is on the autopilot. The president is not concerned in the midst of this. Let the country go away for 7 or some more weeks. He brought in legislation, which also has a very great portions of the coming election, because census. And we were talking about it here, the importance of census. I was looking at Ghana's last stuff, how everything been configured out, the number of women, how the regions, the city, we said it become more populated within 7 decades, and all of that, different things. The number of women as proportional to, the number of women increased to like 50.7%, and men 49.3% from 2021 to 2010. The population was 6.1 million. you saw that how Accra became the most populated city. And we said that this is not just all about because election is coming. And that's why we need to erase this notion. It's a constitutional provision. That's something should have been met. That's something should have been done. The lawmaker, all of the actors, they should have done everything possibly can to plan for this year. And here we are today. It deprives other communities from getting clinics, from getting school, from getting relief, from getting government assistance if it is there, for God's sake. But that has not happened. Ambassador Boycott, what do you make of his address today?
So it comes in twofold. Firstly, it comes from the opposition in general perspective, and I appreciate that on behalf of the opposition, Ambassador Bwaka spoke, though it took too long. The rice crisis has come and long been gone, but again, the more the merrier. The censor has come and the proclamation was made. Again, the more the merrier. We as opposition, it is not our place to condemn and amplifying government misgiving. But I like to say that when I spoke of it coming too for me, that there are certain areas that you will take responsibility. And if we want to be honest with ourselves, we have to divide the pie equally. Ambassador Bwaka was president of the Senate, and the Senate had a responsibility to set into motion all of the elements leading to the censor for 2018. And the budget would have captured it so that most of the things that would have been executed prior to the censor would have been done and given the space for straight censor process in 2018. Many of those things were not executed. The budget cannot reflect the execution of those things. Ambassador Bwaka was there. If he said that he will be a government, he will govern well, he should have told us and informed us from that perspective. So at times when people ask Mr. Cummings as to how you will govern, that was a unique portfolio. That while sitting as president of the Senate, you would direct the policy, especially as an incumbent that want to contest, so that most of the governance process can play to your advantage. But if you sat there and nothing happened, and then it was given to another group of people who have also a responsibility, and you now come to correct them, I think, again, I said the more the merrier. But Mr. Cummings has set the tone before.
So here, I see Cecil, I'll be bringing Cecil, hold your piece. I'll be bringing it. But quickly, Jonathan, it seems like from what I'm trying to sense or capture from you, the wrong UPS driver here is Ambassador Boycott to talk about this, because he said that he was in that place, according to you, in your words, he did not do anything. He did not have to execute on something that he presided over, and he left it there and is still chasing him. So he seems to be the wrong messenger for this, correct?
Certainly. But more than that, the message is even belated. But again, I said the more the merrier, so again, discounted. But the message is belated because when the fire was on about shortage of rice, what the person was referring to the rice crisis as street talk, we could not hear this message. We heard an elaborate message, not once but twice, from the CPP camp, one from Gateway McIntosh, on the censor directly, on the eve of the day of the censor, giving all of the different postulates that, if not put into place properly per their development thought, the censor was going nowhere. And today we see Grand Cape County tablet have been broken into and taken away. And Mr. Cummings, on the other hand, platform that narrated all of the things, the long-term, short-term plan of the rice process. Our country is rich and fertile. The issue about the president travel and a lot of other things. But again, we accept it. And like my brother Toto said, probably we are playing the lead role of the opposition. So we're now renege on playing that role.
Okay. Dr. George Toto, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, from all indication, this marathon, this fight within the ANC and that of a unity party for this airflow billing behind me here, it's going to wage on for quite a little while here. Jonathan is making an argument, the wrong vessel, the wrong driver is in the sea here. And he uses a word today that I remember Elizabeth Blunt or the Russian reporter that Liberia, he paraphrased it, but then he said, the reporter at the time during the heat of the civil crisis said Liberia was heading in a direction like a vessel with an unknown technician. He used similar that, but he restructured his. That is Ambassador Joseph Boyka, the former sitting vice president. You heard Jonathan here clearly. He was a president of the Senate. And he knew that this thing, this censor thing was not going to go away. So ANC will also, when the going gets tough and the tough gets going, they're going to wrap this coil around the vice president and say, hey, wait a minute. You were in this position and you didn't do anything. Sister is killing himself, but this is a serious business here. Let me bring you in here. Can we validate? Can you validate Mr. Dolaket point here? In the interest of Liberia, do you agree with me, or what do you differ?
Yeah, first of all, I would not say I agree with you, leader or Janitor, but Ambassador Boyka, we all know Ambassador Boyka, the two of you say are VP. He has said he had made a lot of statements about they had a lot of resources, opportunity available to them, and they squander everything. Those are the statements from the vice president. The vice president is no better than George we are in terms of communicating to the Liberian people. He has been very slow to comment on critical issues, especially with his CPP. Under his wise when he was chairman for CPP, we saw how the CPP were pushed up and down, and the vice president was very slow to make a statement. So for his statement today, for me, I'm not surprised, at all, because he knows better than George we are in terms of communicating. When it comes to ANC, it's true that Kobe is talking right now, but when we're coming before, Kobe and that man in the vendor or speaking for the Liberian people. It's just recently that we see, because he has been one of the favorite to hear the CPP that he moving from north and south, the breath of Liberia, to carry his message. But before that, he was nowhere which was discussing the same issue. I think it will become the poor leadership of CPP with communists all that brought in one going to be the picture today. If we are already on top of the game, reaching all the Liberian people to engage the Liberian people, to make a case with Liberian people that they are qualified to rule this country. I don't think people that think one going to enter the race today, you can come out and give a support to one of them, but because they are fear the Liberian people, every one of them, that's the reason why you see one going to in the race today. And let me just diverse a little bit when it comes to my own Bonkate man, George, when it comes to the statement for the very broad concerning the Fula people. First of all, I don't know who came up with that list of people of tribe in Liberia that they tribe belong to this particular place because they are in that list about the 16 or 17 tribe. I came across a beautiful Liberian lady a few days in Pittsburgh. And I know she's from Liberia. I asked her which part of Liberia she come from. She said, I'm from the B tribe. And I said, what B? Because at first I questioned B, that part of our 16 tribe in Liberia. She said, oh no, we are there, but don't talk about we form ourselves between Grand Bass and Lima County. She said we found ourselves between Grand Bass and Lima County. So a little bit. So you see, we have several group of tribes in Liberia, but don't recognize that. I don't know what came about that mentality to post 16 tribe in Liberia. They say this is 16 tribe, they are part of Liberia, and the only tribe record that. So that's in there by George Mayer. I think they'll take that in there back for the Fula people.
Okay. We are getting there. So one ANC guy spoke, one Tiawan City Gonglo spoke. So you're gonna be who tell the one you win, who tell the one you lost. Amos Joy there. Sisse is preparing his arsenals to come back here. But Amos Joy, let me bring you in here. You listen to Dulake, you listen to Dr. Toto with respect to the vice president. And in his own word, Dr. he deployed the vice president's own words, which I know you're going to hunt him as well. can we say it's part of the squander the vice president was talking about, part of this whole sense of thing that he's talking about here? That seems to be a double standard.
It is a double standard. But however, it doesn't mean that we should give the government pass. That's why they took over, because they said things were wrong in that regime. So they came into power to correct the mistake of the past. And if they are not doing it, our vice president has the right to speak. But whether he's the right person for that message, that is the question. It is
right. Let me ask you the question.
But is he the right messenger?
Is he the right messenger to you?
No, he's not a right messenger. But that's his opinion. I cannot take it from him. But he's not the right messenger because he sat in there 12 years. If they have put everything in place, allocate enough funds, thinking that the next 10 years this will be coming. So if even I'm not here, if we are not here, the next people come, they will have a cushion, they will have some cushion to start off right away. But those things were not put in place. And now today to come and go after this government on that issue of census, I think it's a travel state on the vice president part. And the worst thing is when people have the press conference, they don't want to take questions. You see, they do not want to take questions from the press. And I think the press in Liberia should start demanding these people. If you don't want to take questions from the president, just get your press release, let them go and read it up. That's it. But they are bringing
Donald Trump just give a tweet. Let people scramble over it.
They are bringing issue in the country, and you just can't spell it out. And you're not telling us how you're going to handle it. It's all that. Give it to me. I will do it the best way. But you're not telling how you're going to do it. Lay us into us and tell us something. But these people, most of the time they go, they have the look up Omen Barker, the second press conference he had. There's no question. He just read a statement and walk out. And these are national issues. We're supposed to be asking you and tell what you're saying and how you do it differently. And Lord actually you were there. What did you do? But no. So this is sad in our country. And Mr. Dr. Toto, let me say this to you. Since the same person has your experience, has Councilor Gongo spoken on this issue, and now you're going after Alexander Cummings, since the central issue, where's your work Gongo? Has he spoken about it? What is the person here in Morofia to address this critical issue? So you want to go after Mr. Cummings? When since Friday or the week before Friday, what now General Gongo had a press conference on this central issue to put up the danger, to point out the danger that, hey, I see danger. This is not good for our democracy. Where is he on the issue? Mr. Cummings has spoken.
Sister coming for you.
So,
is it the ECOMO?
Okay, I see.
Okay, so Dr. Toto, please.
But John, don't listen to Dr. Toto. He must say, we get out of mind.
No. I see now.
So says it's the Black Dragon represented them for Bruce Lee, right?
I'm here. So,
okay.
The reason why I tell Sister come because Sister will be the last person to speak. I don't want to interrupt you. But Sister coming for you.
Come on, man. We know what you're talking about. So, but here's the thing here. So, this issue, I always say, on this issue, the vice president is not a right messenger.
Okay.
He is not.
Leave it there. Let me just leave it there. Since the IR is hard, it's good to take it to the Black
president will host a little bit. The vice president will host a little bit. The Black had a problem. So I don't know.
You will answer that question, but let me add a little layer there. You as a politician as well. Let me add a little layer. What is the reason when politicians, major actors, when they're speaking on consequential, important issue, and they avoid questions? Because the questions and answer period more or less will provide a sort of a elaborate, to be more a little bit detailed, because press statement, you just read your statement, but people are going to be asking the open-ended questions that will allow you to provide more answers. What is the downside of that? When politicians mount the podium, speak and just walk away, even though they are making some good argument, but there is a pitfall to that. And Dr. Kerr pointed out here, your guy also pointed out here, this guy, he was there. Was that a strategic plan on the part of the planners? Hey, let's just talk about it and avoid a question and answer, because some crazy guy or somebody there, far-sighted persons, I'm just using that word, who have more likely asked that question. But why a politician does that?
So there is press briefing and there is when you have a press conference. At a press conference, you allow for people to ask questions. At a press briefing, you are addressing an issue. So the difference is, as for those of us that go to church, is between Sunday school and the actual service where the pastor preaching. When the pastor is in Sunday school, you can raise your hand and ask questions. When the pastor is on the pulpit, nobody ever asks questions.
You don't.
And so there are certain messages, certain things sometimes you don't want for there to be a distraction based on the questions that come, because when you recognize a journalist, there is no telling where they're gonna ask their questions about, whether there's gonna veer off the topic the message you're trying to send, the cardinal message. So sometimes it's about, we have a spear and we know what the tip of this spear is, and that's what we're following right now today. This is the message we want to send. We don't want any distractions. Therefore, it is going to be a press briefing and not a press conference. It's an address to the nation versus a press conference. So there are good reasons why politicians do that. I've done that before. I've advised my candidates before here in American elections, sometimes to just address the press and sometimes to have a press conference. So there are a lot of reasons for that. However, though,
yeah. So on that point to date, let's put a needle through the thread. Let's put a needle through the thread right now. On that point to date, was the vice president or his plan or handlers, were they on point with that?
I would say so. I would be one person that.
There was a press conference. It was not a press briefing. They said it.
But he didn't. But maybe they get the wrong name. But the way they
okay, so that's another thing, because sometimes people don't know how they distinguish.
Right, the process in which they handle it was like a briefing, because they didn't take questions, right? Unless maybe I didn't watch the right thing, but I didn't see them taking questions.
No, he didn't take questions, but he said it was a press conference.
Right, and so I think that the handlers did well by doing that, because the questions would have been like what Pa George is asking and what Dolake is talking about. Where were you? You know, when these things were happening, and that would have taken away from the crust of the message that the vice president was trying to deliver. So to that end, I think they did him well. But did they do the Liberian people well? No, because what is good for the UP might not necessarily be good for the entire Liberian population. Ergo, the reason Jonathan is sitting here. But I did want to check my brother a little bit, because Jonathan is like a hammer. Anything the boss see that he got to hammer it down. Anything from the United Party the boss see that he got to handle it down. So, you know, and the reason I was laughing is I was texting him while he was talking. I was quoting Winston Churchill to him. Winston Churchill said, "Never let a good crisis go to waste." This boy never allows a good crisis to go to waste. He was punched on it throughout the day until he brings it down. But having said that, though, my brother Dolake served in the legislature. He understands that the vice president, being the nominal head of the legislature, the president of the legislature, does not set the legislative agenda of the legislature. So my brother understands that, but he's trying to play the whole cat and mouse thing and try to push that thing around. He knows that. But having said that, though, I think we have to get to a point now where, and I'm going to, push a little bit on my papi, George, and my own friend, Dr. George, on the issue of people speaking. I think at this point on this platform, what we want to see is, when are we going to transition into how often people speak versus the quality of what they're saying in those speaks, right? This question about where were you? I don't think it helps our Liberian body politics. Where was Omer Boakai when all these concessions things were being signed? Therefore, he has to now be silent. It's almost like he has sold his constitutional right to speak because he presided over a 12-year government. No, let's allow him to speak, and then let's check what he's saying now to his action back then when he had authority. Now, where were you? It's the same thing people do to commies that I don't like. Where were you during the war? Where were you when this happened? Well, just because I didn't leave to come down to Liberia and divide food when self was dividing food doesn't mean I have lost my right as a Liberian citizen to speak on the issues that are happening today. And so I think we have to start getting away from there and start talking about what is the quality of the conversation that's being here. And by the way, Councillor Tiawan Gonglo was at Butuo recently at the crossing, the infamous crossing where the NPFL used to come into Liberia. And he talked about the hurt that came from there. He talked about the economic activities right across the river. And he talks about what is not happening on our end. And Councillor Gonglo has been talking about the issue of people being counted and how resources should be allocated and why the issue of ledgers is detrimental to our body politics and affects our democracy. Just today, he was at a university in Sacramento, California, speaking, and he also spoke about this same issue. Again, I think all of the political parties and the major actors have been speaking about the dereliction of duty that is manifested in this issue of ledgers. I think what I want to sit down here one of these days to discuss is somebody should hold my guy and say, yo, your guy, while speaking on this thing, said this. I don't think that was right. And I don't think it went far enough, or I disagree on his policy agenda on that issue. I think that is where we should start going to. But I think I will give it up to Omer Boakye was speaking today. And I've recognized, like I did the day before, that Komis has been around. Komis has been very visible. He's been speaking. But when are we going to start checking what did Komis say versus when has Komis spoken? And I think the same thing should apply to Tiawan Gonglo. He's been speaking. He's been everywhere in Nimba County. He's moving now to Bond County. Right now, he's in the U.S. When he gets back, he's going to go to Bond County. Again, like I said, the issue with Tiawan Gonglo leadership, Tiawan is leading the People Center campaign. Therefore, he's going to every village that politicians are now known to going to. And he's talking to these people. And because gone are the days where politicians in Monrovia sit and determine what are the pocketbook issues of our people. So Tiawan is instead flipping the switch. He's going to the people and talking to the people so that people can tell him that when we give you this power of attorney to rule over us for 6 years, to make decisions on our behalf and on behalf of our children and our grandchildren, we want to tell you what are those things that are important to us versus you thinking that you know what's important to us. And I think this is where we have to start talking about. I've seen that to some extent in Arizona Cummings when he's been having these town halls and engagement in District 4 and District 6. I think this is a new brand of politics, and I'm liking it, because Tier 1 is pioneering it, and I'm seeing Arizona Cummings is doing the same thing. And I think this is the time we got to now see how are their engagements with these people, how is it changing their platform, because every politician comes with a platform. But if you're going to go listen to the people and you don't change your platform, that means you won't listen to the people, because what the people tell you ought to affect the way the final platform you present to the people come 2023. So for me, I'm excited about what is happening in the opposition community. I'm excited about the Honorable Arizona B. Cummings. I think he's making the point to the Liberian people. I think he's been doing very well. I'm excited about my guy, Tiawan Gonglo. He's been doing this forever. He's the pioneer. But just because you build a road, don't mean somebody else can come and build a drainage and make it better. So we have to understand that. We have to know that either one of these two guys will be a great president for the Republic of Liberia. They are speaking. Let's look at the quality of what they say versus the quantity of how much they say.
Yeah, I think that's a good analysis here. Do you think Ambassador Boakye could possibly pivot in that direction at some point in time? Because the problem here too, answer that question first.
I think the handlers around Ambassador Boakye will not allow him to do that, because to do that will be to allow a Cummings to say Boakye doing the things we're doing, or a Gonglo to say Boakye doing the things we're doing, and they don't want that. You see, we can be on this show. I can push Jonathan when he talked about the lifestyle audit, and I said, when are you guys going to give credit to Gonglo? And he said, oh yeah, we'll give credit to Gonglo. Gonglo talk about it, but that doesn't mean we can't talk about it, right? That is political maturity, but that would not. I don't see that coming from the UP group, because they believe that they're way above giving people their due courtesy and they do right. So I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay, Dr. Toto?
The point I wanted to raise was saying that we are now trying to dampen the quality of the communication. What I'm not talking about, I'm talking about the timing of the communication that been put out. We have seen how long it takes for the vice president to communicate critical issue when it comes to the state of Liberia. That's the point I would try to raise. He takes so long to address issues.
I agree with you, Dr. Toto. I was not even talking about that. I was talking about how many times Comey speaking, but you're right on that issue. I agree with you 100%, sir.
And I think it's the
Okay.
second thing. Or
George?
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I said, or I have been bashing the opposition. I said they are not being forthcoming. But Tiawan Kongolo and Alexander Cummings, they have been speaking on this issue and facing the voters. I think Cummings was in a church or somewhere the other day, and you have people there asking him questions. One of the problem I have always said, I said, they are not forthcoming. But the former vice president, he's very relaxed. Everything is in, I mean, the election for him. So that's how they figure that they don't have to talk to the people. The people just go election and voting in. That's the mentality that I believe that the former vice president they having, you know, because at this time, people should be out there. He should be out there telling the Liberian people. Because honestly, he has more questions to answer to the Liberian people.
The vice president? You said the vice president had more questions to answer?
Of course, being vice president 12 years, you got a whole lot to answer to the Liberian people.
Do you think because of that, his alliance with the opposition, could that be one of the possible reasons for which this whole thing was torn apart? Because those dikes could come out possibly. You think so?
You see, he has his own problem. There was some good thing that the Ellen government did. He could take credit for that and apologize for the shortcoming. But if he try to distance himself from everything, the good and the bad, then of course he'll have a problem. You see? So I mean that's politics. I mean, we saw here, it happened here. You take over, the former vice president take over. There are something you will say the president did it one at a time. I did some, but we did some good thing, and you can point that out. But the VP, he had distanced himself for everything they did during the past 12 years. So now the thing is, what is his platform to defend?
No. All right. Janitor, let me let you speak to this as well.
Yeah. So let me put this thing in a context. Many a times I listen to my colleagues and different panelists say it is true by the Constitution, by the first branch of government and its functionaries, that the president of the Senate does not have a voting right. It limits the president of the Senate. The president of the Senate cannot discuss in the matter. Instead, they preside over the business of transaction. The president of the Senate is a spy on the legislature on behalf of the cabinet, meaning if the president has strength over the legislature, it means that the vice president is amplifying that strength that the president is utilizing over that legislature. Because you are a spy, you don't want giving the information. If there are wrong deeds passed in that legislature, if you are not satisfied with it, it means that you can use your president in order for it to not go away. That is what I mean by the spy on the legislature. But more than that, if you disagree with the black majority of the people, the honorable thing that you will do, like is happening currently in London, is that you will resign and stay on the side of the people. Anything other than that, it means it's politics to accept, it. And these things I'm saying, they are not going to make us to say if Ambassador Bwaka appear for the second round against we are to not support him. We're gonna support him if he arrive at that stage because we are at the least. He's that bad. He must go by all means and see him go to Councillor Gonglo. But in the interim, we should be honest with each other to say the truth. So if Ambassador Bwaka comes on and say he owns all of the defects of the Unity Party-led government under Madam Salid, as well as the gain, then we have a conversation to not criticize him of these things. But if he separates himself from it, then it brings us to the point where we'll have to know which one of the best candidates is well suited, and that is why some will go out. It's like, let me put it in the scenario. Lastly, it's like people hold Mr. Cummings responsible for going to Liberty Party headquarters. But Liberty Party headquarters by institution is recognized by the regulatory body of the country election commission. So Madam Yombli Kanga is saying, for example, I'm just talking in the past now, that her own party headquarters were afraid of it. Is that what? Was Ambassador Braga saying that he could not go to Liberty Party headquarters that is recognized by the National Elections Commission? And so if Cummins went there, it was the worst thing that he did. So we have to put these things in context. And I think they are all just about politics, and we are getting over it. We are recognizing a commonality as an opposition community, in as much as we still think that each individual in the interim, based on the different negotiation, will go separately, but we are respecting one another. But it's just obvious that we try sometimes sharpen these contradictions so the public understand quite clearly.
Yeah. Look, let me just tell you, do not allow Sisi to create any political intimidation on your part. Because when you're talking, he's stretching his eyes and all of that and say, look, give me a break. You see, I don't mean to stir out trouble, but by vision of my eye, this is what I'm saying. But Sisi, let me speak to this here, and you're going to speak to it.
That's the total number 5. That's the total number 5.
Oh, Pape, so I didn't me by me in the defense now.
Oh, yeah, but that's what the total say.
So, Sisi, you what is the danger here? What is the sloppy ground? This vice president, and it's quite interesting. Usually, we seen we saw how Mike Pence, we're seeing the gap now between Mike Pence and that of Donald Trump. There are a lot of things that he did not agree with, and he came out. The vice president said he used this word, I'm waiting one of these days to have a real conversation with him. Let me get a context, the interpretation of what he was parking in the garage. And when I try to figure out many answers, or, we come to him. Was he not involved in the decision making? Was he left out? Or was his advice not taken? And if that was the case, why the vice president can't tell us? Why up to this time, how many years now, no memoir to tell us exactly what happens under the watch of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf? Why is the vice president not taking responsibility and coming out front to tell the Liberian people, look, whatever decision happened, we all are responsible. But to become more or less selective, to say, okay, maybe not saying it in public, but I'm not part of this. And that's the point Jenitor is making. And all of us, at least, are with apprehension as to what was his role. When he was represented Liberia numerous of times, when he was sitting by the right-hand side of Helen Johnson Sirleaf with all of these decisions making, but yet cannot tell her exactly what he differed with Helen Johnson Sirleaf. And everything seems to be dashed on Helen Johnson Sirleaf. Is that a dangerous path he's walking on here that could potentially, the Helen Johnson Sirleaf wing of the Unity Party too is a very forceful wing. You see, the Amara Conan, all of them, and all of those people here. Is he walking a fine line not to alienate those voters, or what is he doing? What is the game he's playing here?
I don't know how fine the line is if he's walking it. But I think this is what happens when you have people handling you and advising you that understand nothing about politics or governance. Look, I keep asking people, and I'm going to put it out here. There are Unity Party people who, when they see me supporting Tiawan Gonglo, have asked me, I've had like almost 30, 40 messages from people. Oh, my man, you're supporting the Pape? How come? And these are higher ups. And I say, when was the last time you asked me to support the Pape? You assume that it's a foregone conclusion that I'm going to support Joseph Boakai just because I'm on Lofa County?
Yeah.
There are ANC partisans who see me on this platform espousing my support for Tiawan Gonglo, and they stay trying to recruit me. They stay come to me and say, my man, my brother, we know we need you. Because those are people that understand that in politics, every vote counts. You don't take anything for granted. You don't have the Hillary Clinton mindset that I am crown king. I'm just waiting for that crown to be put on my head. And that is the mindset they built around Ambassador Boakai. How would you assume automatically that you got my support when you have not even reached out to me? Yet you have other political parties that will see me here talking about Gonglo all day, and they still reach out. My brother Jonathan was here in my backyard the other day trying to subtly win me over to ANC. Right? I'm a man, you left your t-shirt, you went home, my Gonglo t-shirt I gave you, I stay shipping it to you. But that is what it means when you understand that nothing comes easy, nothing comes cheap. And for me, I always give credit to the ANC for that. There are other things that I disagree with them on, but they're not assuming anything is going to be given to them. It's the same thing with Councillor Gonglo when he's in Loguatu, when he's in Butuo, when he's everywhere else, when he's on motorbike going places that vehicles don't go, and people are making mockery of him. But he's there talking to the people who otherwise no politician would talk to, because he understands that nothing is a given. Nobody's going to crown you king. You understand that? And so for me, this is the question I've always asked the UP people. And that's why when some of the ANC people talk about Joseph Boakai health and his age, I get upset, because there's a whole other thing to hold Joseph Boakai on and not give him that leeway about his age and his health, right? Because Joseph Boakai is yet to tell the Liberian people, how is Joseph Boakai Unity Party different from Ellen Johnson Unity Party? Because in America, people will talk about the Reagan Republican Party versus the Donald Trump Republican Party. There is a difference. So if Joseph Boakai they have not even told us that. So yes, 12 years you were parked. We get it. What does the new party look like under you now? What is different from when Ellen led it to when you were leading it? What is different in the platform? What is different in the ideology? What is different in the mindset? He has not told us any of that. Yet they will want to take credit for all of the good things that happen in those 8 years and run from the negatives. You have not even told us how you're different from Ellen or how similar you are to Ellen. Yet you're running on the same party. And so for me, I think this comes to intellectual laziness. And I understood when Dorike talk about, when you talk about, there's not even any book, any memoir, any op-ed that a vice president has written that will give us an insight into how he thinks about the economy different than how Ellen thought about the economy. How he thinks about healthcare and national security different than the Unity Party on the Ellen. He hasn't done that. And so for me, I think I'm waiting. I'm licking my chops, because I'm not going to discuss Joseph Boakai's age. I'm not going to discuss his health, but I'm waiting for them to tell us how he's different from Ellen. And that's when the intellectual conversation starts. And they know that, and so they are running away from that. They're not going to have that conversation.
So he must be held responsible, like he's saying, think Liberia. Was he thinking Liberia then, or is it now he's thinking about?
That is the point we're waiting for him to tell us, right? That is the point we're waiting for him to tell us.
Can somebody please, I don't know, who are more closer to Unity Party, I want to have a conversation with that.
But that is why we need somebody on this platform, Mr. George, because, Mr. So, we need Unity Party president on this platform. The last time we have Ministry.
I talked to
Mr. George Lobo.
CDC agreed up to this time. I talked to the guy who's supposed to come in.
Mr. George Lobo.
The last time you said you bring CDC, you bring CDC. MOL King, Ministry of Labor. No, is that Ministry of Labor? No, sorry. MOL people King, the state company. The last time the cassette people King said they want to JD come here. What y'all doing here?
No, but you guys too are not helping me, because when you come here, one of the party leader always say, one of the other tier one Gonglo man, that man, the man when you ready the way to go after the old man, so it's going to Lions Den. So
Well,
until the people come here. But you don't listen. When you start blowing it or you start firing, then when you send a message, my man, we can't. They want to, so you're scared then too. You're not helping me out here.
No,
okay.
But Mr. Stewart, let me just check a little bit when it comes to the vice president.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when it comes, I don't really fall for the financing issue where people have problem when they come in, they want to bring a whole lot of baggage or problem that happen for the previous regime, where they benefited from that. And the city that talk about the other gentleman that just had a forward for the government with the censor issue legend or Arizona Warrior. He been there all the many years, benefited from some of the bad leadership that derived from that censor era. All of a sudden he come out now, that can't eat the old baby now. People should hear him up. I want to do, I don't really fall for no type of thing. The see where the vice president come out, condemning some of the things that happened in any regime. And that he squandered resources, but he was vice president for the Senate, even though he did not set the legislative agenda, but he was consulted on every issue, every decision the Senate took when it comes to the concession agreement, or Bongo contract that was signed, he was in the law of it. So he can't just come and say this that we spawn on resources the librarians will buy and give you sympathy for the other chair. Oh no, I don't really fall for the temperate.
Mr. So if you permit, let me just push back on Dr. Tudo a little bit.
Oh boy.
Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams worked in that place, but there had not been any piece of evidence to show that he ever could now to eat or to defraud or to cheat the Liberian people. Mr. Williams said he was signatory to the account and they took his name from that account until there's some document to show that he did connive to cheat or to defraud the Liberian people. Then I would tend to agree with you. But I think he did the right thing thus far, so far, until I see other documents that he implicated in corruption and try to maybe attack other people. So that's my pushback. But Mr. So this vice president thing here, the Constitution is very clear on the vice president position in Liberia. The Constitution said the vice president is to assist the president on the running of the country day to day. But people come and tell us that position is just
a position.
Yes, and the Constitution is clear that you should assist, your duty is to assist the president on the running of the country on a day-to-day basis. And if you are a vice president and you are not given that opportunity, then you can ask to resign. Secondly, this man was not just a car parked in the garage. He was not a Ferrari, a Porsche, a BMW, or a Mercedes-Benz. No. This man, the Demobilization Commission, he was the chairman. The Liberian Marketing Association, he was the chairman. The National Lottery was on him. And the list go on. So how can this man come to tell us that he was just a park car?
Labrador National Lottery, Group of 72nd.
Everything was on him. How can that man come and tell us, oh, I was just there?
But some more travels.
And he said 75% of the advice, 85% of the advice, he gave it, and she took it.
So the question now, was he thinking Liberia then?
The question is, I don't want us to limit it now. Oh, it's just a ceremonial position. No.
No, I mean his slogan now, think Liberia. Was he thinking Liberia, knowing all?
Oh no, at that time Liberia was in the Atlantic Ocean.
Now, Mr. George, the ceremonial part is when he was in the Senate. The work in the Senate is ceremonial, not the vice president of the Republic.
I agree with Sisse. I agree with Pap George. I think they are all saying the same thing, but from different angle. I think the only thing that it did for Ambassador Bouaka, and consistently doing for Ambassador Bouaka by that statement, is that it is taken away. In politics, it is good to do rehearsal before you make the kind of public pronouncement. At that time, 2016, 2017, Ambassador Bouaka was favored when he said that because it divided the United Party to a larger extent. As it is today, anyone that want to be vice president about the Ambassador Bouaka, they are careful of that statement, and the person who authored that statement, as to whether they will utilize that statement sufficiently that they will be packed either as an old Peugeot or as a brand new Ferrari. So it's going to become it's going to be a problem. But I want to pivot a little bit from that conversation because we are in the opposition community to oppose by Alex Williams. Alex Williams said something on his Facebook time that the government now is using his colleague to call his wife and put in the chat room. And his wife is now sending him text message that the government is after she and her children. He nested one of my Pekin, Uriah Bar. And I think that it is unfortunate on the part of Uriah's them to think that life is all about today. And for that young man who has a professional life, who can make a life anywhere to be chased. Ceci Morris is currently in Liberia. He worked with water and sewer. He was a whistleblower. He alarmed on misgiving of water and sewer. We all here have witnessed water and sewer every night. They're going on protests. I mean, Nothing is happening in front of public works ministry. The entire sewage is bust up. The minister comes and go into the fence and see it bust up consistently. This man was dismissed. The Minister of Finance, who is also having a statutory responsibility as a board member, either board chair under Water and Sewer Corporation, comes on ERBC and said that GSC provided report and all the things Sensi Morris said were not correct, they were not accurate, and so Sensi Morris protested it and said that if GSC provided report, it means that I, the whistleblower, should be questioned to present my facts. How can somebody be crying for justice?
We can wrap up now, but okay, so, gentlemen,
it's just bad.
Considering all what we are talking right now, if we were to sit around the conference table here to find a solution to all of this and put it to a rest, are these enough reasons that the opposition should begin to have a second thought in order to solidify their political grip? Look, you know what? Just a boycott, park in the garage. The other folks on the other side, Ellis comments, and it's just that is just it. Our argument just doesn't make sense. You are simply telling us, and that's some of those are the bad personings of mind, the politicians incited to our brothers and sisters. Or you're in the diaspora, or you're in the diaspora. The only thing diaspora for one job. All of the candidates now, they are not complaining. All of the candidates coming to America now to raise tons and millions of dollars. Nobody having anything. Holiday season coming, your phone getting off the hook, blowing up. Diaspora right now important. But when it comes to phone back, competent, qualified people, I'm not saying everybody that live from here go there, do the right thing. No. But they say, oh, then they put that stigma on us. They are just only coming here to find a job. So, gentlemen, and I like the conversation that is always kept on this network. You guys with different political background. At the end of the day, we come to a common ground, more or less Liberia. Considering all what we are talking, are there enough reason now the major players should sit and say, wait a minute, take a deep breath. There are tons of reasons we should have now so solidified our political grip. If they feel that George, we are other countries that did that. Politics is all about give and take. I mean, you got to sacrifice. But if it continues like this, what I see happening between the ANC and especially in that of the Unity Party is troubling. And I know they say there are different institutions, but it's troubling. I listened to the intro today of Amos Tuer calling Benin one of our main allies. When people use there's a lot of connotation to certain word when they use that. You look at that now because Urea has invested so much in boycott. So you can see the gap where you say, this guy here, he just want to go in without this guy here. Is it time for us to have some other extra conversations that could be a game changer?
Yeah, it's never late. But Mr. So, from the day the CPP were organized, when I saw Mr. Ure at the amount I've been almost 2-3 years ago, said the birth of the CPP. He used to question me, why you saying that Benina Ure would break this thing down? I said, Mr. So, Benina Ure will be the troublemaker. And today you see what's happening. Benina Ure, remember when the day they had a program, that ceremony that they were coming together. He was the first man that spoke that if we disappointed Liberian, the Maho was responsible. Those were the words of Benina Ure. It was the same Benina Ure, the first man to take one of the colleagues to quote in personal not comment. The very man who told the Liberian people that if this thing don't hold, you both should hold responsible. It was the same Benina Ure. He was the first man to take Alexander Cummings to court. And this man, there's no daylight between he and Oliver Boakai. And Benina Ure doesn't like Cummings for some reason because he has said openly. He questioned Cummings one time, where were you? The senior sister was saying, where were you? That's how he questioned Cummings. So during the war, Mr. Cummings was nowhere around. So therefore, he doesn't have the right to run or to contribute to the well-being of Liberia.
Why are people buying in this sort of talking? Why are they buying into it?
If you see the kind of people here, then it makes you to start wondering, what is the room? I bet you Mr. Cummings and Tiara Gongo can sit down and have an honest conversation. Because not one day I ever heard Mr. Tiara Gongo, because I know him personally, I ever heard him referring to someone, where were you, or this person, you are not this. No. But if you have people that have been now urinating with that mentality bill, that saying you are not here during the war, that means you cannot contribute or you cannot participate in the political process or the democratic process of the country. And this man is politically in bed with Honorable Joseph Boakai. How do you think there will be room for any other person to be accepted if you are not in the arena with them? That is the question I will start asking ourselves.
So,
Okay.
Mr. Sodo, I think to a larger extent, the onus has to be placed on the leaders, because leaders surround themselves with people, and the kind of people you surround yourself with allow people from outside to judge your mindset, your character, and what you take important. For a long time, when I was beating on the issue of Daniel Chia here, is I know Cummings is an honorable man, but I was putting him in the view him through the prism of Daniel Chia. And so there's the same thing that's happening to Omen Boakai in the issue of his handlers. I think political maturity and leadership maturity requests and requires people to be able to say, look, I need a little bit breathing room. And don't put me in the cocoon. You understand that? Again, like I always say, I support Councillor Tiawan Gonglo. But I don't love Tiawan Gonglo over Liberia. I love Tiawan Gonglo because I love Liberia. That's why I want to see him as president. Liberia is number one for me. If I find any other candidate that espouses the same ideology as Tiawan Gonglo and has the same character of faith as Tiawan Gonglo, Tiawan himself has said if we find that person, then he would not run. Because it is not about Tiawan. It is about what I think my country can be. So the issue of when people say, Cummings will not talk to the other person and this person hate Cummings, and all the issues about the people in the diaspora. I know I've heard people say that a lot. They come at me all looking for a job in Liberia, and I had to go, with somebody inbox. Give me my inbox. All of you in our country there, you're tired cleaning people, you want to come to this country. That was his exact comment to me. And you want to come here, you think people will pay you anything, you ain't even worth nothing in America. So I said, let me tell you something. The Minister of Education, by law, makes less than $4,000 a month. You really think I'm going to make $4,000 a month? Something is terribly wrong with you if you think that.
Oh, because you want a group of people to be running behind you.
Right, because the problem is that I am not retired. So I still have to work to maintain my family. If I go to Liberia, I got to pay the mortgage here. Then I got to find a house in Liberia to pay the rent in. And then if my family follows me, then my wife got to leave her job. And so now our two incomes go to $4,000 a month. But what happens in Liberia quite often is people do that to scare competition away. I keep saying this on this network. In Wieze, in Fiama, in Wieze, in our swamp, Bukara Predator. I told that to Akara's Great. And I said, all of you think you are predators because you turn Liberia into Buka, into swamp, into Wieze.
Okay.
Open the way, let the salt water come in. Let the Atlantic Ocean flow into Fiama. And you see Buka become prey. Make it competitive. Allow some of us to land on the ground and see if somebody like Akara's Gray, who can argue the definition of simile that he doesn't understand, and yet he said he was teaching and he came from the Fertile Crescent. Apparently, all the fertilizers are dying in that place because of global warming, of the mental global warming. It affected the growth and the soil level of that place. So it became an infertile crescent. But those are the people that speak in Liberian post is sour.
Okay, gentlemen, time has caught up with us. Time has caught up with us this evening. The best of political commentators, analysts, pundits. Thank you so much. I'm still you guys, your guys coming to America, there's some of them already here. We are looking forward to have a conversation here, right here. Yeah, they're coming getting resources for all. Why they don't want to talk to all? Why they want to be selective to either go to either ANC or Gonglo platform? Why they don't want to come here? Jonathan, the challenge is with you. I said Dr. George Toto, George, it must
We
be.
don't have a Gongro platform, but Toto, talk to Dr. Toto. He can bring the counselor.
No, we are making some back door enrichment.
I don't like back door. Just go through the front door so we can see, because the back door can
No,
get.
we have to
No,
make
it's a
the front.
All right, gentlemen,
Yeah,
thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, for your commitment.
Jonathan, I'll call you tomorrow. We need to come down on the backside. I got something to talk to you about.
Oh, hello, Jonathan, trying to get you over. Says Dr. Toto, yeah, the guest, the
I said, I'm not
Yeah,
they made it full of organization.
you see, yeah.
So,
When blind man
Janitor,
talk to you, that rock in his head.
Dr. Toto is my brother-in-law. You don't know.
the janitor, I still waiting for battalion payment.
Dr. Toto, come folk.
Well, folks, that's how we're going to leave it here this evening. Yes, absolutely. Our God can heal, can do anything. We want to say a big thank you to all our viewers, our listeners, and followers in Radio Land. Whatever you are, we want to thank you so much for your time and commitment to this network.
My God can do
Let's live in Ohio. And this is the voice of Liberian gospel artist. K Praise is based in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Join me this Sunday for one of the best, The Liberian to War Today. It's an informative news magazine. Comes on every Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's relayed through our sister network and television's Sky FM in Liberia. This Sunday, we told you the Liberian War Today will include all actors in the Liberian situations or Liberian conversation. Legendary Kai Gerald is an award journalist winner. The author of the new book, Liberty Hijack, will be my guest.
You will do. What am I do? I will live in Ohio. My God can do
So here, we want to thank you so much for this time. My namesake, Tillet, Alfonso Tillet, right there in Philadelphia. Thank you, George. Thank you so much. Amunika Human Right Trafficking, I hear you. James Davis, Smoke Cola. Carl Alvin Pennant, yeah, I understand you're seeking for you're seeking elections in Liberia, one of these districts. I think it is overdue. We want to have you here. Trust me. I've been watching a lot of images. Your one-on-one, dining rooms, kitchen table conversations. That's Western politics. Is being introduced there by you. Thank you so much. We're going to be bringing you here. Let's hear honor your bell what you have. Fatih, thank you so much. Koto, thank you so much for being here. Aaron, Bali, thank you, J. Nathan Blade. Those are our primetime valuable listeners and all of you great people. Bali, Abraham, yeah, and the list goes on. Kalomu Kroma, Afonso Aku, Manese Aliyu Kroma, Marcos, Tape. You know, sometimes we gotta do this here to recognize Mike. And of course, Mary Curtis is based there in Philip. Where are you now? Garden City. It's Alexander Gandet. Thank you so much for being here. Chamin Cox, Mohammed. And the list goes on. I'm not so much noted of doing this here, but sometimes we gotta give recognition to our folks there. Alex, thank you so much. Sati Geese, Harris, Jerry Gibson, And all of you, man, Abeto Fofana, thank you so much. And Edith Markine, base aim. The Garden Senator of New Jersey, one of our strong community leaders. Thank you so much for being here. Comment. He's one of those guys I like to hear that's setting and having this kind of conversation here. Thank you so much for your time this evening here. Of course, Lavette Thompson, Farisius and Lobeck, and of course, all of you great people, and the man himself, the president of the Barbie District Citizens in the USA, Elijah Pay, a very young man, progressive, doing extraordinary, engaging his people. Thank you for sharing your evenings with us here. Keep us posted to see how things are going. And of course, our own Samuel Chie. Thank you. We wish you well. And Wilson Boyle is our prime-time viewers, listener, follower of the Liberia Public Radio. Thank you so much for all of your time this evening. We are doing everything possible we can to make sure that the conversations on this network is kept proportional, discuss the issue, not necessarily entertainment aspect. There are a lot of clubs, there are a lot of crazy things ongoing here. But when it comes to this, it comes to our country and the one who wants to occupy this building here, we must take that seriously. We ourselves as facilitators, we must be held accountable. Things that we say sometimes put us into check. The reason to see all these conspiracies falsehood is because what has been surfaced on the social media. It is wrong, it is unacceptable, and we should not allow our country to go down that pit because of political correctness, and these politicians want to do everything possibly they can. Trust me, we are reaching out to other them, but sometimes they want us to list a bunch of questions before they can come, and that is just unacceptable. Do you remember the yes or no Sherman Brown on EOTV? That's not what we do here. It is fair to give you the outline things that we're going to talk about because I'm not going to tie myself to questions here. You could say something that requires follow-up question. So you want to come, you want me to ask you where your man, where your partner, how old are you? No. I'm not preparing peanut butter or oatmeal here for politicians. It is time to ask them question because if you don't ask them the question now, tomorrow you're going to be late. The only thing you want to see those tinted windshields, huge limousines going to be flying and going to be too late. We want to thank you so much. I will be having Kai Gerald this coming Sunday and the following Sunday on the 27th, I believe, will be one of the senatorial aspirants in the Crowder-Fee in Maserati. Victoria Kwekwe of the Alternative National Congress will be following next after Kai Gerald. Join me this Sunday for more program. Until then, I'm Afonso Z, and so have a pleasant evening. Bye-bye.